Hello and welcome to Aaron's Review. If you don't know, I am reviewing all the major nominated films. Today, I am just featuring the best animated films. So that's 5 films. I'm going to rate them from number 5 to number 1 of the ones I liked. And in that, I'm going to give myself 1 minute to review the film for you. I'm not going to do a summary, but I'm just going to review it spoiler free so you can still watch these films. They're all pretty amazing films in the animated feature category. That's how it'll be. Number 5, number 4, number 3, number 2, number 1. Each get a minute of a review in Aaron's review. So let's start. Number 5 is Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul. I think that's the name of it. 1 minute to tell you my review and kind of what the film's about. Let's see how it goes. 3, 2, 1. I'm going to start here. Wallace and Gromit is just not for me. Like the whole, if you don't know, there's many, many films. I think it all the way back to the 80s and 90s. So this film was just not for me overall. It's a cute film, really well done. If you don't like claymation or stop motion, this isn't going to be for you, so don't watch it. But if you can handle claymation, it's a cute film. It's a cute film with, little to say. It's just basic, if I can remember. It was just basically Wallace and Gromit are dealing with the penguin, which I love, the penguin, who's coming in and they've created this elf kind of gnome guy who can do all these things. So it's coming into this new century with kind of technology and how it can help you because he's an inventor, Wallace. And the penguin kind of from prison fixes it so that the elf, the gnome, doesn't do good deeds, and they have to kind of prove their innocence throughout it. That's Wallace and Gromit, most foul, and Vengeance Most Foul, and that's the 1 minute. Not very much time, but I just want to say this was number 5 for me. It just isn't my cup of tea. They like tea in it, so. Uh, but maybe it is for you. It's a very cute film, claymation, stop motion, like I said. And if you're a Wallace and Gromit person, this is going to be for you. Go watch it. It was cute, but it's not for me. Number 4, Memoirs of a Snail. So again, I've got 1 minute to review this film. Let me just get my thoughts together. Sometimes I don't get my thoughts together and I just go off the top of my head, but this one I think deserves a little time to tell you to think of through. 3, 2, 1. Memoirs of a Snail is for adults. Let me just say that this is not animated feature is not necessarily a kids movie, right? It's animated. This is yet another claymation stop motion, and it's about a brother and sister twins and really death. It's a lot of death in this. It's very dark and morbid in a very human kind of way. It's a very human story. It's about finding, your own self-love and your own place in this world as people come and go throughout it. It's at first it's very slow and I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I even had to stop the movie because I rented it. And then I came back to it and it really moved me by the ending. I was really hoping you would have. She deserved a happy ending at the end of it. And I won't say if she did or not, but I was happy with the ending, I'll say, if it doesn't give away too much. But it's very dark, very R. It's an R film. Yeah, that's my minute. It's about the human experience and death, which I think is a very important thing for us all to kind of consume, figure out that because death happens to us all. And how people come and go. So this is Gracie's life, Grace's life. It's unfortunately a sadder life, but very, by the end of it, worth the watch for sure. Number 3 is a very small film that not many have heard of, and so I think it needs more promotion. Inside Out 2. Inside Out 2. I think it's the number 1 film of 2024 when it comes to money. So I think we know this film is, but if you don't know, if you haven't heard of Inside Out 2 or want to know what it's about, here we go. In 3, 2, 1. I love Inside Out films. I love Pixar films. The Inside Out films, they really, I think, put a face to our emotions, and I really think are important for kids and adults, let's be honest, to really help us understand what is going on inside of us. And this one's about anxiety. I think we all can relate to that, right? And how anxiety takes over and how it can take over. And we need to figure out anxiety has a place in us. Yeah. Anxiety is not a bad thing, but we can't let our emotions consume us. And so I love that that was the story this time. Now Riley is a teenager and having to deal with all of that life. I really appreciate that Toy Stories kind of went with the age of Andy as he got older, like with the actual years, pretty much. I wish Inside Out did that too, but I'm glad we got a teenage story. I would love to see an adult version of Riley and how the emotions are oh, doing with that. But that's Inside Out too. It wasn't as great as Inside Out, but it had an important story about anxiety. And I think that that's, wish it wasn't two. I wish they could have called it something else, something that you compare. But this is about anxiety and how we should deal with it, how we can deal with it. I think also gives good tools and helpful tips to deal with it. Number two, the wild robot. Oh gosh, I'm gonna do this in a minute. I'm making myself a little bit longer. We'll see. The wild robot. Before we start, this was hard between two and one. It could have gone either way, and I would love to hear the arguments in the comments of how this should be number one. Discuss that later. Three, two, one. The wild robot. Oh gosh. I freaking cried like 3 or 4 times, and I might cry again thinking about it, just because it's about where we belong. It's about chosen family. It's about bringing ourselves together. Um, Community is what we need, and Roz, the robot, is the wild robot. She needs to find a directive. She needs to find someone to give her a purpose, essentially, as a robot, and think the red fox helps her with she orphans a young duck, young bird, and has to take care of it. And her directive is to raise it. And then the wilderness kind of helps her understand how to raise a little bird, Bright Bill, who's so freaking cute and just so moving, and how we have to allow people to grow and who our family is, that we get our time to choose it, come together, and that we all need each other. Oh, the Wild Robot is so good. I really do mean it. It could have been number one, and it would possibly be my best animated, but it was very hard to decide. But number one, I'm firm about. I think between the two, let's find out. And my number one animated film out of the five that they've nominated, the Oscars have nominated, is going to be Flow. Flow is also up for Best International Film, which I think is interesting. I'm glad that they changed it from foreign language into international feature. Let's try to do this in a minute. I think I can. Three, two, one. First of all, Flow is like a independent film, independently funded. So I love that. So the animation is very unique, and it's about a cat, and there seems to be a flood of some sort, a great flood, and it makes everyone have to be marooned essentially, or in the middle of a flood. So they have no water, and it's about this cat. There's no talking, so it's like a silent film. It's just animal language. So meows, barks, birds, monkeys, and they all come together um, to try to get through this flood that's happened to them. And it was just so moving the way it was done. The music, I can't believe it's not for best original score. There must be some loophole thing that made it so it couldn't be. But this film moved me in so many ways, and I didn't think it was going to. I was like, okay, we'll just watch this animated film, have it on. Oh, I'm giving it more time. Have it on in the background, kind of, as I watch it, but it glued me in. The cat's relationship to, I don't even know what the bird's called, what kind of bird it is, but I think a pelican? I don't know. Sorry, tell me. Their relationship was so moving, and I love that it wasn't like pretend that they could talk to each other, but they really were communicating with body language, with like their like how that the animals would really have to communicate if they were like stranded on this little boat in order to get through this catastrophic thing that's happened. And it ends in such a great way because there's no, I don't want to give away too much, spoiler free, but the ending was like, we need to help each other. Yeah, because even our predators we can work together. We've got to flow. We've got to flow together. Just go with it. This is happening. How do we process through? And then eventually this little cat who wanted to be alone and left alone on her little cat, beautiful house, didn't want anything to do with anyone, wants to help others by the ending and wants to be not alone, but surrounded by love and acceptance. I hope that wasn't giving away too much. It's still worth the watch, even if that was. Go watch Flow, my number one pick. I hope it wins Best Animated Feature. So that's it. Those are the 5 films up for Best Animated Feature. So if you can't go watch them, they're all on streaming. I watch them all from the comfort of my bed, my own home. You can too, and see who wins on March 2nd. I'm excited to watch. I hope you'll watch and continue to watch here. Maybe subscribe to my channel. Like the video, comment. I'll keep these coming as we get closer and closer to the Oscar. Happy award season.